Greetings, GameCola faithful, and welcome back to more Let's Play Dragon Warrior. In the last episode, I forgot what we did.
It's been like 10 minutes.
I know. I'm joking, of course. But what I did forget to do is cast Repel.
Yeah.
We are
so that we can go over those mountains.
Yes, exactly.
I know that joke was already made, but you know, in case you missed it, this is not the beginning of the series. We made that joke already.
Yep, climbing joke.
So we are going to go back to the Dragonlord's castle, and we're gonna do some exploring.
Mm-hmm.
And it is, as you might expect, the final dungeon. So, or at least as far as you know. And no, this is early RPGs. There is no surprise. This is not the end of the game.
There's no inverted castle.
Yeah, right. But the castle is, as you might expect, the most complicated dungeon of any one that we found so far.
Which I've already gotten lost in Garen's tomb a fair bit, so that'll be interesting.
So that this will probably be not our last session.
No, probably not. Perhaps penultimate, hopefully, or maybe penultimate.
I would say we've got 1 to 2 left after this, would be my guess.
Yeah.
Okay, that's kind of about what I was thinking.
Depends how much dying we do.
Yeah. Alright, well, it wore off, but it's fine.
But yeah, I guess, again, for some reason, obviously, you know, I've talked about, you know, Chrono Trigger and that kind of stuff. Like, there's good games that I like. I definitely played a whole lot of The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. I also quite liked Earthbound, which at the time, Earthbound was not really, like, when it came out, I don't feel like it was as big of a thing as it is now.
Well, part of that was the marketing. This game stinks.
Yeah, I still have the scratch and sniff cards at the back of the manual.
Nice.
Yeah.
I find that fascinating, the games that ship with manuals, like not even manuals, but like whole player's guides, like Earthbound did.
Right. Yeah, definitely. But I guess the thing is, again, when I think about Super Nintendo, oh yeah, Soul Blazer. I don't know if I've talked much about Soul Blazer on this series, but that's another one that, like, I would say Soul Blazer is one of my favorite games, right? But I don't really hear a lot of people talk about it. I don't know. And so I guess that's kind of where I was going with my previous question about what are things that I guess have stuck with either of you that aren't top games that anyone's going to have in their top games list, and yet for you it's one that you think about a lot, right? That's you know what I was trying to kind of ask about.
Well, I brought up Adventures of Lolo before, and Lolo 2 and the third one, and that was a fun discovery because
so I'm just thinking about the boxes on your wall that say Adventures of Lolo 2, the third one.
Yeah,
the third one.
But yes, sorry, go ahead.
So the way that I played those was on an online arcade, if I'm remembering correctly.
Okay.
And I did eventually find a physical copy of the first one. Still don't believe I have the second one in my library, and the third one I definitely don't. And they're ones that I would love to own, but they're not ones that I would probably replay a whole bunch because they are top-down puzzle games. You're playing as Lolo, this little blue dude from HAL Laboratory who did Kirby, and there were some Lolo references in the Kirby games. And you are moving around a single screen. There's no scrolling.
Yeah.
And you are shooting shots to encase monsters and eggs, and you were pushing those you were pushing those eggs around to block other monsters from moving into positions or from shooting at you, or you're dumping them into the river so you can ride the egg onto another platform somewhere, and you're just advancing through some sort of maze. And with whatever the MacGuffin is at the end of the maze, whatever you're supposed to be doing for that particular game. And what I love about it... Yeah.
It's kind of like the puzzles in Lufia 2, but minus all of the RPG stuff.
Right. I say right, nodding my head as though I've played Lufia 2. That's another one on my list. That is currently in my Super Nintendo, and I would have started playing it already had my Super Nintendo decided to display any video on my television last time.
Oh, yeah.
That's something I need to look into. I don't know if that's a hardware issue or if it's the way that I set it up, because I haven't played it since the last time I moved.
Oh, yikes. Oh, nice. We lucked out with that.
Yep.
Hooray, we survived.
I thought you were going to say you would be playing it, except you're here.
Yeah. But that will be the next Super Nintendo game that I play once I figure out how to get my Super Nintendo running again. As I get older, troubleshooting hardware on my older game systems, or even my newer game systems, is just exhausting. I just want games to work. Which is why I haven't gotten back into SimCity 2000, which is one of my favorites of all time, and I have been craving it. But running it on a modern computer is not impossible, but it is so incredibly inconvenient to get it working properly. That that is an entire day project for me, or half a day project, and I have needed the relaxation of video games so much that I can't stress myself getting a video game set up so that I can de-stress.
Yeah.
So at least SimCity 3000 was on GOG, and the Unlimited Edition, which I didn't realize I somehow missed out on, so I only had the regular edition. So I've been looking forward to playing that and giving that a second chance, because I always liked that one, but I didn't like it as much as 2000. But as an adult, as a more mature gamer than I was, more experienced than I was at the time of playing the game originally, and with the expanded content that Unlimited brings, I'll be interested to see how I react to that. But Lolo, I love Lolo. It's easy to learn, challenging to master, which is my favorite gameplay style. And there's a limited number of enemies, there's a limited number of environmental objects, and it is just, let's take this small toolkit and do as many creative things as we can with it. And then with 3, they introduced an overworld that gave it a little more flavor and a couple new different kinds of obstacles and enemies and things. The cute little whales. There's just really fun... Just every aspect of it, like the visual design. There's so much charm and character to those games. And the purity of the puzzle design is great.
Speaking of absurd, I went in that staircase. There was a staircase on the tile immediately adjacent to it. I went in that staircase and came up the staircase all the way down here. We have some non-Euclidean staircases or something or other.
Yeah.
You're wandering an MC Escher painting. You're actually on the underside of the previous floor.
It's like the labyrinth.
I think
so. Something that I really appreciate about this dungeon, when you walk in, doing as much as you can to create atmosphere and build suspense in a game that is as limited as this one is. What do you do to create that atmosphere? What do you do to build tension? And I love how the game brings you into a daylight dungeon, sort of like Hawksness, where you can tell that something's not right here, and maybe there's some monsters around, and then you suddenly get attacked and like, wow, okay, this place is not safe. And it does the same thing with the castle, because at first glance, it kind of looks like the same castle that's your safe haven at the start of the game, except it's surrounded by this vast swamp, which for me really brings home that feeling of, wow, you are deep into the wilderness with this horrible swamp surrounding it. Like, this is not a nice place to be. Then you have the being able to see the entire place without needing to turn on a torch or your radiant spell. And you're seeing that little design of, okay, we've got some symmetry here. This is aesthetically pleasing. There, it's a nicely built castle. It's just not just a monstrous castle. Like there's some artistic thought to how it's laid out. And you've got that big throne in the center that's suspicious. And like, I wonder about that. But I want to check out these doors first. And then you go delve into the door staircases, and then you're in this maze.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it's like, wow, there's so many staircases. I am intimidated just by the number of staircases. And so just building that little bit of atmosphere, building that little bit of tension, maybe a little bit of fear, just with so very limited tools. And that's one thing that I do love about earlier video games is getting creative with the toolkit that you have to create things that more modern games just go out and do and don't even need to think about, well, how do we make this work? It's just, we'll just create from scratch.
Yeah.
Now we have it. We don't even need to think about it. Here's a cutscene. Here's a bespoke piece of music. Here's some amazing graphics.
Okay. I think I've got so really, there does not seem to be a whole lot of place to go down in this lower flow. Both of the staircases go into tiny little rooms, which have staircases that go even further, which immediately loop back to other staircases in the area. I don't think either of these... I think at this point, I am meant to recognize, I'm not finding any forward progression. Let's check out that throne. I have also noticed that those doors that I used keys on don't appear to have closed, which I'm a little surprised by. Well, I forget if I needed to use a key to open this door a second time. I don't think I did, but...
Well, I don't remember when you entered, right? But remember in Garen's tomb, it was the same, that like as long as we didn't exit town, the doors stayed open, even if we like changed levels and so on. You're fine. Hold on, let me look at this. G, where does G? G comes from there, which is there.
I just looked at it. You're correct. It is an infinite loop.
Okay, that's what I thought.
I have not recognized, I have a map up, and I have not recognized anything of value in this area. It does just keep looping itself around. And I like game design here, right? The left point, I'm sorry, I'm quietly eating dinner on mute as we're doing this. There's so on the left side, that first one that you're probably, for whatever reason, like it's right in front of the entrance, so that's probably the one that you're going to go to first, right? And you go down there and immediately you're hit with a dead end. There's nothing to do down here. Okay, fine. I'll go check out the other door, which is also conspicuous. So let me go to the other door, and I'm not even going to worry about wandering around the throne because, like, obviously there's nothing there. There's no treasure chest. There's no NPC. Let me check out this other door that's calling my name. So you go down there, and now it looks like, okay, this is the real dungeon. But if you start mapping it out, or if you've got a good sense of spatial direction, or if you just do it enough times, suddenly
I didn't mean to do that.
Suddenly your green dragon can't cast spells. Suddenly you have this realization of, wait a second, I'm just going around in circles. And then if the light hasn't already gone off, then it's, okay, let me explore this other suspicious thing. But I like that it slowly titrates up of, okay, here's, your very obvious ground level that's all brightly lit and you know exactly where you can go. Now here's your dead end. Now here's it's still a dead end, but you don't realize it right away. And then here's the actual maze.
Yeah, it's a neat kind of, it's a good fake out. All right.
Okay.
So I'm all out of MIPS now, but I have several herbs. Which I probably should have used the herbs because being able to put enemies to sleep and stop this sort of thing. That's ridiculous.
Oh, yikes.
All right, well...
I've come to beat up wizards and use MIPS, and I'm all out of MIPS. I don't even know if it's worth using the herbs. Like, if we're just gonna...
Well, they're cheap enough. Okay, the doors do come back.
Okay. Oh, because you left... Yeah.
Yeah, if we're thinking from an efficiency perspective...
Yeah, we might as well just die, right?
Yeah. Herbs are going to buy us, like, 1 or 2 or maybe 3 more battles. but they are going to require extra time going over to the town, manually buying one at a time to stock back up. And then that detour also sets us back a little bit of time.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, you do have a torch.
I mean, we can just walk around, we can do a battle or two, and then...
But if you need to go back anyhow and buy more herbs, you might as well use your torch, because you'll be there at the item store buying a torch too.
Yep.
Oh, thou art asleep. And then you find out it was all a dream, and you wake up in front of the king.
Yep.
Come on. Yay.
We discovered that
you find out it was all a dream, and you wake up in Dragon Warrior 2.
Now, I was going to say we wake up and we realize that the Dragonlord was just some guy we met at an airport.
Oh, yeah. He didn't like vegetables.
Yep.
And you might as well use the herbs if we have to go back to the store at all.
It's true.
So
here's sorry, let me interrupt you with that first.
Yeah, go for it.
Here's another way that the gameplay is sort of naturally leading you toward grinding enough to be able to take on the final boss without it feeling like grinding. Like, we absolutely did some grinding earlier. Nice.
Yeah.
But here, you have the combination of, this is a big maze, I don't know where I'm going, I'm mapping it out.
Yeah.
Game FAQs did not exist at the time. There we go.
Ambushed by an axe knight.
So first of all, you're getting lost and you're bumping around in caves. Second of all, you've only got so many torches, or you've only got so many uses of Radiant. Yeah. So it is the combination of being lost and not having the resources to make it all the way to the end of the dungeon at the very beginning. So as you are doing whatever it takes to extend your stay in the dungeon, you're naturally leveling up so you can survive. So it's either, you are so lost in here that you run out of torches and radiant spells to be able to reach the end, or you run out of hit points while you're still in the process of mapping. And so all of this sort of naturally lends itself to continually going back, healing up, resting up, and then coming back in fresh. And then you're a little bit better for the experience with, being stronger. Maybe you went back and bought some equipment that you couldn't afford before, whatever it is. And so it's just, by the nature of it being a big, confusing, sprawling dungeon that requires resources to get through, you are naturally doing the work that's required to level up enough to take on the Dragonlord.
Yeah.
All right, I got one torch. I probably didn't really need the torch because Radiant is the thing, but it'll at least save me a tiny bit of magic points in a pinch. All right, back we go. I probably should have saved after restocking on items, but oh well, it's not like... Oh. And I need to cast Repel. It just makes me think of Pokemon now.
What the game doesn't tell you is that it secretly has a life system, so you've only got like 12 deaths left.
Oh, man. That would be so rude.
Did we mention that when we were talking about the Final Fantasy Legend?
Yes, we did talk about that, I think.
Yeah,
or maybe we didn't, but I knew it because I just started playing it. But yeah, you have hearts as a resource, as a stat, of whatever you want to call it, for your characters. And every time you get resurrected, you lose one or more hearts. And so if you don't have any more hearts, you cannot be resurrected. You have to swap out for a new character.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there a way to get more hearts?
Yeah, you can buy more hearts.
Oh.
But it's expensive, yeah.
So wait, so we pay for resurrection, and we pay for the ability to continue being resurrected.
Yes.
Yep. Interesting design decision there.
I do like that thought of putting a limitation on resurrections in a Dungeons and Dragons context. It never came into play when I was DMing, because I didn't run too many campaigns where people were high enough level to be resurrected repeatedly. But I was thinking, if I ever ran a very long-term campaign I would institute a mechanic in whatever game world I was playing, where every time you get resurrected, there is an increase in the percentage chance that the resurrection will fail. And so have it be tougher and tougher to bring somebody back, which I think would also help explain why, you've got however many decades, eons, centuries, whatever, of heroes who aren't still out saving the world because there's a certain point where you just can't bring them back.
That makes me think of something. The wish spell has certain restrictions where by default it says here is the intended purpose of the wish spell. It can duplicate any lower level spell, but it can also be used to do these other more exotic things. But doing so, every time you do that, there is a 1 in 3 chance that you are hit with these semi-debilitating side effects, and you have a 1 in 3 chance of never being able to use the wish spell again. And I wonder if resurrection could be handled in a similar way, in that when you resurrect someone, maybe not the person doing the resurrection, but the person being resurrected is maybe has some temporary side effects that last for a couple of days. And that. All right, I'm gonna stop bothering with you. I hate the Star Wyverns.
Yeah.
What a pain. But I wonder if you could institute a similar mechanic so that resurrecting players causes some side effects that are at least temporary, and also potentially compounding, so that eventually just the resurrection spell can't do anything.
Side effects may include death.
Yeah.
I think Breath of Fire 3 had a thing where if your character died and you went to the inn, they would come back for the first couple of battles with lower HP or something like that. That there was a temporary limitation that you had for having died previously.
I'm getting some really terrible luck with the sleep and stop spells lately.
But I look at it this way, and I think I've said this before, we're at least gaining XP.
Yep.
Even if we don't even make it to the staircase, we've gained more XP.
Yeah.
That wasn't a suggestion to help us not make it to the staircase.
Come on, game.
Dragon.
I also had kind of I wouldn't say I had a renaissance, but I didn't get the Nintendo 64, right? And so there was a period between the release of the Nintendo 64 and me finally getting the PlayStation, where I was renting NES games from Albertsons. Because, yeah, so I would just go to the grocery store, I would pick one up, because they had they stopped renting NES games after a point, right? Now that the Nintendo 64 is out, who wants to rent an NES game? Well, I do, because they have a deal on them, right? That they're cheaper to rent, and there was a lot of games that I had never really played when the NES was relevant. So I'm sitting here and I'm playing Adventures of Lolo or Bomberman, right? Games that I might have played them at a friend's house or something a little bit, but I never owned them. And so there was a period where I was.
I would say don't bother with it after the second time.
Yeah.
Well, the problem is
that
the hurt more is, there we go, is it deals 2 heal casts worth of damage. So, and it takes me a couple of rounds of combat to defeat this guy.
Yeah.
It still might be be worth it.
Yeah, because
this would be probably
case,
3 or 4 heal casts.
Yeah.
as opposed to 2.
Yeah.
It's not great. It's not a great trade-off. But
He was playing Karnov.
is Karnov a good game? I've heard
No.
about it. A Stone
what?
Man. I'm gonna try putting. You might be impervious to sleep, actually.
He doesn't seem
I'm
like
almost
he's
tempted
gonna-
to say play the flute, but I don't think it's going to work.
Yeah.
I do
We
love
can
this
try
one
it.
design, though.
Nope.
Yeah.
Ouch.
Man, this guy hits like a train.
Yeah. Excellent move.
I do
Wow,
like...
that was not enough.
What? Whoa.
I think you... Wait. With as much damage as it's doing, we're might not get ahead. Like, I feel like go all in on one last attack.
Yeah. Boom.
Okay.
Wow, that was a pretty good hit, though. Nice. I do also appreciate that the one train was just getting out of range, and then the second one came. Have I talked about the UFO on the podcast? Or
Yes.
stream
It was
game?
during an earlier episode, I think episode 13, where
during-
it happened.
When I initially saw it, I mentioned it. Yeah, because I've been sitting here waiting to see it again. I have not seen it again. But I've thought about it a lot.
So talking about Lolo,
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of Lolo merch
Oh, really?
that my wife made.
Okay.
Oh.
My wife is a crafty woman, and she actually made me a Lolo plushie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
And you might have seen it in one of my Gemini Laser YouTube videos. It gets tossed at me from off screen.
Oh my gosh. I think I remember that. Oh my goodness gracious.
One of the rare
That's
times I've
a-
actually done a video.
Lulu is a fairly simple character design.
But a very memorable one.
Yes.
Whoa!
Oh yeah!
Oh, and
it's
he's even breathing fire in
He's
the
setting
sprite.
outside on fire.
Yeah. Oh boy.
I dare you
Okay.
to touch grass when it's on fire.
Yeah. Oh, it
But
dodged.
he's dodging, please. Well, at least he got that Erdrix armor.
Yeah.
Does it only
I also
bring
like that the fireball flashes as though you could potentially be attacking the fireball.
Yeah.
Ouch.
It has a hitbox. You can hit.
So maybe let's tack on one more video from the estimate before of how long it'll take us to get through
Yeah.
this. I know things will change dramatically when we get heal more. That's going to be a game changer inside battle.
Let's go ahead and go back up and then just get that level.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay. Where are we?
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Yes, this is a more palatable type of dragon.
Indeed. Actually, the blue dragon wasn't.
Wasn't too bad, actually.
Yeah.
I would say the green or the blue dragon was more palatable, right? There was a different palette.
Yeah.
Actually, I do enjoy the palette swaps in this game. Like, say what you will about them being lazy, but I like games that have some amount of palette swapping with their enemies.
Yeah.
because that, and maybe we talked about this already, but that gives a little bit of a feeling of, I know what to expect as a baseline. Maybe you've got more hit points, maybe you've got a new move that I don't know about, but I recognize your type, what the combat is going to be like.
What?
Ouch.
30 damage. Okay, good.
There you go, yeah. Because you can take a hit from him, you just can't take a spell from him.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, when can I start getting the hurt more spell?
You just need like one more battle after this one.
Yeah.
That you can do that without dying. Oh,
hey!
Oh, no.
Yes!
Nice. Courage
Level 17. Response speed by 7.
no
so
power.
no attack power increase, but that's another notable defense increase.
That's
8
what
HP.
You need.
A new spell!
Oh, hey.
Yes!
Oh, and you can't
Hooray!
Ah!
Thou hast learned die less.
Where are you going? You going back?
I'm going the wrong way. I got so excited.
That's all right. The
just wanted
monsters
to run
left
this
you
way.
alone, gave you a minute to celebrate.
Oh, no.
Oh, I don't have enough. I need to use my torch.
Hey, at least we got that torch. Do we know where we're going?
I do.
Okay.
It would be really interesting to mess with the players if this were a horror-oriented game, where if your torch goes out and you light the torch, and then the arrangement of blocks around you is different than it was when the torch went out.
That would be a good one. Have you played Sweet Home?
No. Well, I'm not big on horror games to begin with.
I just got a reproduction cartridge of it, actually, just
Oh.
a couple days ago.
It's an NES horror game. I played it a long time ago. I've not played it recently. Actually, I think I tried playing it last year, but that I didn't beat it. I tried playing it for Halloween. I forgot about that. Actually, it had to be 2 years ago? Yeah, 2 years ago. Yeah. That I tried playing it. It's an interesting game.
Actually, if you want to talk scary games, this by any standards really, but by modern standards especially, this isn't scary. But Haunted House for the Atari 2600. I think we were talking earlier about doing as much as you can creatively with the limited tool set that you have. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to wings back home.
You're going to wing it. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Nice.
Why not? We
why
managed to get back.
Okay, so in, then torch, then herbs, then king, then wing,
Then out.
then
Oh.
Charlotte Castle.
Yes.
I was going to say in, then herbs, then out, then king.
Oh, and keys. Do we need keys? Are we topped off on keys?
I think we are still topped off on keys. We haven't needed to use any yet.
Right. Very good.
Because
But
the
yes,
only
because
key
we're
I needed
going-
to use went to a dead end.
Right.
Which is kind of rude. Also, wow, 100 and 100.
What?
Check that out. We've got 3-digit HP and MP.
Oh.
That's awesome. Feels good. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, that's
Yeah,
okay. So, Haunted House, Atari 2600, the most primitive video game graphics imaginable.
Yeah.
But, and so it's a top-down exploration game. You are trying to survive a haunted house, and you find different objects around, and you are avoiding bats and spiders and ghosts and creepy crawlies, and they all have, sort of their own movement patterns, and every layout is very simple for each room, but there's a lighting mechanic, and you have a candle that can go out. And all of a sudden, you just become this little pair of eyes that you're wandering around in the dark. And when the candle's lit, you're this sort of like as close to an orb as you can get on the Atari 2600, so more like a diamond. But you're just sort of this orange glowy orb with eyes. And when you get hit by a monster, the eyes spin around and around and you die. But it's as simple and as fun and as silly as it is. That, for me, is sort of like the absolute essence of what a horror game or a suspenseful game should be.
Yeah.
Because it's the mechanics of you can't let anything touch you. Instantly, it's all over. Nothing is safe here. You don't know where you are. You're disoriented. You can't find your way around. You have this one limited resource, and you are desperately trying to find your way out of each room and onto the next one. How far can you make it? And that is just incredibly basic, but that is really the distillation of what a lot of horror is all about. And I think if you're a kid and you haven't played, back in the day, and you're playing with the lights off, and this is the most graphically advanced thing that you've seen, or at least one of, there's a lot of room to capture the imagination there. And I still have fond memories of that. Even though I don't like feeling fear, that was sort of like a fun kind of scary.
Yeah. So I will note also, we are at the point of having 3,000 EXP per level. That I
yes, officially.
Checked. And yeah, no, I was gonna say, we've had a couple of moments here, like, given the graphics and the gameplay and everything, there's a lot of investment when we're like, we have 2 hit points left and we just need to make it to town. Will we make it? Will we make it? Oh no, the guy is attacking us, but we run away. Like there's moments of like true investment, right?
Oh yeah, we had one just a little while ago, episode 8, I want to say, where we had that really, really close call, just barely making it back into town, and right outside of town, like 3 tiles away, there was a wolf that almost just wiped the floor with us, and we were like, oh gosh.
Yeah. No, and so I can see like the horror in a game that, even though like graphically by today's standards it's absolute silliness, that like in the right mood and with enough personal investment, just letting yourself have that suspension of disbelief or whatever you want to call it, that it can be scary, right? Like you're not sure what's going to happen. Are you going to make it?
Tension.
And
it
can be there.
One of the things that I do love about these earlier video games with the simpler graphics, the simpler soundtrack, like everything is so much simpler than what is available to us now. I love that there is so much room for your imagination to fill in the blanks, to expand this world into more than the system it's on was capable of representing. And I think that is a large part of why I keep coming back to these games, because they capture my imagination in a way that Oblivion and Skyrim and Tears of the Kingdom and everything don't, because they can capture my imagination in the creativity of, wow, I didn't even know you could do that. That's so clever. That's a great plot twist. That's a really fun scene. Like, you can still get inspired by things, but you're not using your imagination to fill in the gaps as much as you were in the 80s, the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, where everything was so much simpler. The world didn't have as much depth to it, but you could put it there in your head.
And that's such an interesting point, that I think, oh gosh, I don't remember where it was that I read this. Wow, what? The knight did 2 damage? The enemy that just a couple levels ago was dealing double digit, 15 to 20 damage?
Man,
what happened?
I swear there has to be something that your level affects how much damage you do or how much damage you take, because back when we were fighting the metal slimes, we were like living in that area. We were just doing just fine, even though we were like, oh, this level was kind of like mediocre, it didn't really give us very much. We were doing surprisingly well, fighting these demon knights and stuff, right? That look at that, right? Yeah, what is happening? How? This guy used to do like 30 damage to us. I mean, okay, that's a bit better, but it's still not 30, right? It was 12.
Yeah.
Sorry. We were talking about something else until we got distracted by that.
Oh yeah, well, what I was gonna say was that I don't recall exactly where it was I saw this, but it's that reading a book and watching a movie have very different experiences, because watching the movie, you are seeing exactly what one person's creative interpretation of the source material is.
Yeah.
And it leaves little room for the imagination because you can see it. But when you can't see it, when you lack that, because if you're reading a book, there is no visual component. Your senses are not giving you any kind of information about what it is that this world is made of.
Yeah. Wait, what do you mean?
And
books have pictures. Are you telling me there are books that don't have pictures?
Books have words in them now?
Yeah. It's a relatively new development. So it was spearheaded, I think, I don't know. I think it was, you know what it might involve? You forgot to cast the read more spell.
Okay.
That's probably part of it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I never learned how to read.
I learned that.
I can see more, but I can't read more. Bam!
But
excellent
yes,
move.
books. You were saying about books.
Yeah, but so books. I'm sorry, that just cracked I cracked myself up there. But so as a result of basically, it's almost like, because it forces you to imagine, because you have no sensory input as to the thing that is being described. There's only words. And I feel like these video games, these simple video games, when there's very little in the way of graphics and music and sound effects and ambiance, that it basically has a similar effect of, in the absence of sensory information, our mind has to fill in the blanks and figure out what it is that's going on. And that it's more conducive of imagination in that way.
Yeah.
When we have these hyper-realistic graphics that consoles now have the power to show us, it removes the margins within where our imagination would make connections or would draw things up mentally, I think. Which, not to say that that's, that's inherently a bad thing. There's a lot of cool experiences that we can have now that, being able to actually see things, being able to see one specific interpretation of this is what this thing looks like can often inspire your creativity. They can give you a point of reference which you would not necessarily to see what a healing spell looks like in a video game. If you were to just have a verbal description, you would be limited to what your own mind and what your own previous experiences would be able to come up with creatively. But seeing examples of that are helpful, and having higher fidelity options is a good thing. But that's sort of the trade-off that comes with games in the modern era that have this stuff.
And I'm not arguing that one is better than the other. I think there is, like, each individual video game has its own merits. Doesn't matter what era it's from. And there are things I like about older games. There are things I like about newer games. And there are things that I haven't even conceived of that maybe we'll have in future games that I'll be like, how did we ever live without this? So I enjoy a range of games. But to your point about the... talking more about filling in with the imagination, that's why the original Alien is my all-time favorite horror movie. And again, not fond of horror, but that's because I personally don't like being afraid. Uh-oh.
What? Oh.
Whoops. I was thinking I was going to take him out, and that I was...
I think also we got used to having stop spell up.
Yeah, I was really... Because it failed 4 times in a row, I think.
Yeah. Oh, ouch. Yeah.
So, all right. Well, that sucks.
I mean, it's not that big of a deal anymore.
Yeah, but it's just a bunch of
it's
wandering.
Still backtracking to the castle.
Yeah. I don't think we used up any herbs, though, now that I think about it.
Couldn't we just go right there? Come on.
Just throw the wings in that direction and let go of them early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was hoping to see how much the heal more spell did, because I know it uses 10 MP, but I haven't actually used it yet.
So now the question is it actually going to heal 2.5 times what
it better.
Heal does? I think
after all the hyping up we've done.
So
I'm going to say... See how you fare with it, and then we decide if it's an in combat or an out of combat or both kind of spell.
I have a feeling, and some games do this, is that like in Final Fantasy, Cure is something that is super cheap, and you use it outside of battle to your heart's delight. Cure 4, you only use in battle when you are actively dying against a boss, right?
Yeah.
They're like, it costs so much MP. But the thing is that in the moment, you need that. You need to heal that much in one round. But then out of battle, you can just spam Cure. And
now wait a second. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but we just saw that Repel stopped working in the dungeon.
Yeah, that's weird, right? Yeah, and that's
which we thought previously it stopped.
Well, before. Well, no. The first time that we used it, we made it through the dungeon without having to recast it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then the next couple of times it ended in the dungeon. I think that we had walked further.
Yeah, I made a slightly inefficient path through the way this time. So I think that perhaps it doesn't work inside the dungeon, but it's not, its effect is not nullified.
Right.
Like,
yeah. It's not
it does
off.
not have an effect, but it's not erased.
Right, yeah. It would be like
pow.
If you cast Radiant now, but then you walked into the dungeon and it was on.
I don't think that would work.
Yeah.
Good grief.
So, Alien.
Yes, yeah. It's a good movie.
Again, I don't like horror movies typically, mainly because I have a very weak stomach and can't handle blood and gore, which are a staple of horror movies. But I'm okay with psychological horror. I'm okay with supernatural horror, depending on the kind. Like The Conjuring, which I recently watched. I watched last Halloween, was another one of probably the second best horror movie I've ever seen, behind Alien, or at least favorite. Because that one's very much a sort of slow burn, like you lay the seeds early on of there is something that is not right going on here, and it just builds and builds. And I like that about Alien as well, because you don't see the alien until basically the end of the movie. Yeah. The vast majority of the film is atmosphere, and I love a good atmosphere, regardless of if it's more of a horror-themed one or a whimsical or whatever it is. Like, I just love atmosphere. So another reason why I love the older Metroid games so much, why Metroid for the longest time was my second favorite video game series, because Metroid games are pure atmosphere. And I don't mind that they're creepy, because creepy and scary, fear for my life feel less good about how everything is. You know, those are different. I don't care for horror because I don't like feeling bad, but when I am appreciating, wow, what a great job you've done of creating this atmosphere, this gives me chills, that's good. And so I love Metroid, I love the original Alien, and Aliens as well. And I like most of the movies. I know a lot of people pan the later ones, but 3 is the only one. And Alien vs. Predator Requiem, I straight up do not like.
Whoa.
But all the other ones I do enjoy. Hey.
Wow, that healed me from 39 HP to full.
So that is worth 2.5.
That is considerably more than 2.5 times, because that would have been about 61 hit points.
Yeah.
Heal does...
It's about 3 at least.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, heal is a range of like 15 to 25-ish.
It's closer to like 10 to 15, I think.
Oh, you think so? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's even quite as good as that. I think it's kind of meh.
I guess I've been feeling like if it can keep up with a guy that's doing 18 damage, right? then
Oh,
it
I
has
forgot
to
to
be
stop
15
spell
to
this
20.
guy.
All right. Yeah. We'll just heal more. Come
Assuming
on.
we get the chance.
Come on. Thank you. At least we have heal more. 22 to 100.
And the Axe Knight is like, oh, it's one of these enemies.
Yeah, basically.
So you-
Haha, gotcha.
Nice.
So you got me talking about movies.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I am actually, this is something that hasn't come up a whole bunch on any of my GameCola stuff, but I am a very big movie buff, and I didn't realize just how big I was until I joined Letterboxd.
Mm.
I
So I'm just giggling at
Yeah.
the concept
What's that?
that you're a GameCola stuff member.
GameCola stuff member. Love it.
GameCola stuff
Sorry.
member.
So Letterboxd is
Yes.
social media for movie fans. It allows you to track and log and review and rate every movie you've ever seen. And you can use it however you want. You're not obligated to use it in any particular fashion. But it's got a huge database of every movie from every country, from every era, and it's got all of the aggregated reviews of, on a scale of 0 to 5 stars, and you can give half stars. What's the average? What is the distribution of 2-star, 2.5-star, 3-star, etc. reviews?
Yeah.
And so you can see what everybody thinks about it. You get a description of the movie. You have the full list of here's the cast, here's everybody who was behind the camera, and you have all of these reviews that you can read other people's reviews and like their stuff. And it's just a great place if you were a fan of movies to be able to sort of put all of those experiences onto virtual paper. And I didn't realize until I joined, I was briefly part of a movie group on Discord that was an offshoot from Kitsu, the anime tracking social media website that I'm on. And so I keep track of all the anime that I watch there. And then there was a call for, hey, do you want to be part of a movie group? And I'm like, I love movies, sure. And so I was there for a little while. And probably the best thing to come out of that was joining Letterboxd, because people were saying like, oh yeah, share your Letterboxd. And I'm like, what is that? What are we talking about? And so I found it. I'm like, oh, I talk about the backloggery. I am tracking my video games. I love having a tangible record of the things that I've experienced. That's why I journal, not as much as I used to, but I do journaling.
Oh
That's why I write blog
gosh.
posts. That's why I share these stories.
I think. Yeah.
Survive that.
Yeah,
I think stop spell is really.
I say it again. Screw the Star Wyverns.
Yeah. No, I think if we do fight them, stop spell is just standard. Like.
Yeah, it needs to be mandatory because
Yeah.
it's unacceptably tedious otherwise.
I mean, there's sort of, I find with this game, each enemy at this point in the game, and at earlier points in the game, there is just what is the spell that you cast on them every time you see them? Or is this one where don't even bother with spells, just attack? So it's like, do you attack, do you sleep, do you stop spell? Like that
think
is,
these guys
and
maybe
once
just
you figure that
attack.
out, it's like, this is protocol for every one of these.
Yeah, like for some reason we've gotten through all right. And I feel like lately we've just been landing at that like, oh, they have 1 hit point left. And they cast heal more, which now we know basically recovers them to full automatically.
Yeah, and like I feel like our first run through of this, the first couple run throughs have actually been significantly more successful than these more recent run throughs of the castle.
Yeah.
Oh wow! All right.
So anime reviews to movie reviews.
Yeah, and so I enjoy having a record of that also because, and I might have mentioned this earlier, that there's so many things that you experience in life that, especially if your memory isn't the greatest, as I've demonstrated repeatedly over the course of this playthrough, I like having a repository for my memories. I like being able to consult something that I've written or recorded and say, okay, I don't need to retain this information because I have it stored in this video, in this blog post, in this review, and I can just refer back to that or direct other people to that. Obviously, that doesn't mean I want to forget everything that I've ever experienced, but, it helps kind of extend the memory life of some of the things. So, And I also enjoy being able to look at an entire spread of here's pages and pages of things that I've seen and be able to pull up a recommendation for someone. Or have someone else look at what I've watched and say, wow, you've got bizarre taste in movies. Or, wow, this is really cool. Please tell me about these because I've never heard of any of these. There's so many reactions that you can get from sharing that with someone else. In addition to it being a worthwhile resource for you to have for yourself. And recently, for like the last year or so, I have been slowly writing reviews.
Oh, I'm
going to be quiet for a second as we,
Yeah, it does. Okay, does Humor just do your max? I can't tell, I wonder.
Maybe.
And now we're out of MP. I feel like that went a lot faster than previous times.
Yeah, but nevertheless, I don't think it can be denied that we were, like, I still think that Heal More is a much more efficient usage of MP.
Herbs, I forget that we have them.
Yeah, because now we've got something that actually works better.
But anyhow, and I'll try and wrap this up because I know this isn't the movie cast,
I don't mind. I was going to say, go when you're done saying it here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I started I have a Word document on my desktop where I have been writing movie reviews, or I've been at least accumulating notes to write a review eventually. And I haven't done this for everything, but I wanted to kind of sit on it for a while and say, do I really want to start a new creative side project? Because that's basically what it is. Anything fun turns into work for me eventually. So I wanted to hold off on that till Make a Good Mega Man Level 3 was released, and I had some time to really relax again and say, is this actually how I want to spend my time? Do I want to put myself back out there to potentially be judged by people? And do I want to devote the time to this? Well, I worked out a system that actually works very well. Instead of doing a thorough review like I would have done for GameCola, I decided, you know what? It takes me ages to write even one review about something short. What can I do that's a format that I can just hammer out in a single sitting in under an hour, potentially? And I came across, okay, why did I watch this? What did I like? What didn't I like? And would I recommend? And just filling in those categories could be effectively a list of bullets, or it could be full-blown sentences and a thorough review, but I can go either way on that, whatever I have the energy and inspiration to write. And after accumulating more than a year's worth of those, and starting to write some actively as I was watching new movies, I said, you know what? I'm going to buckle down, and I'm actually going to start posting these. And so I started posting them along with all of the movies that I've watched and rated, because I have at least been rating everything I've watched since joining Letterboxd. And it feels good.
Ooh.
Oh.
Right.
And based on the positioning, this looks like it could be a boss monster.
Oh.
Because it was right at the threshold before the staircase, right? GameCola awakes.
Yeah, I wonder.
Nope. Yeah,
Oof.
I think that, but that might be it.
Okay.
So we've still got some work to do to be able to have a chance against that one. Man, oh man.
So I'm looking at the map now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find T. Where does T connect to? Okay, there it is.
To you. Yeah, so that's the one to go through. Where does S take you? Does S...
Oh, that's funny, actually.
Are you guys looking at the same map?
Are you looking at Mike's RPG Center?
What am I looking at? realmofdarkness.net.
Interesting. No, Mike's RPG Center is one that I've legitimately gone to for over 20 years.
I
Nice.
bounce back between a couple of them.
Yeah. Where does S go? What?
So the last staircase that you took...
Oh, there is 2.
The last staircase that you took before fighting the dragon. When you get to that staircase, pause. I'm going to redirect you.
Okay.
Not that you can't go there and keep pushing forward, but there is something that I feel
There was
like
a
we should
chest
try
I
and
saw.
meander toward before going back there.
And I did see there was one chest that was prominent, and I kind of wonder, again, we've heard all this about Erdrick's sword, and I still have not found anything about it. I wonder if Erdrick's sword might be in this dungeon.
The south one. Yeah. Which, that said, perhaps at over an hour of recording.
Ooh.
Right.
Yep, that's what I was thinking. Maybe we should save it for later. As much as I'd like to keep going, honestly.
Yeah.
Well, luckily, you're gonna see if there's a secret staircase back here too?
Yeah.
Or just another breeze?
Yeah.
No.
Imagine finding a tunnel right to the castle. The castle connectors.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep, it's a secret passage.
Town portal.
I mean, that would be really good if they did that, right? That, like, you're inspired by what you saw in the other one, and then you find out that there is something there. That would be good.
That would be a
Especially
neat little detail.
given the pain that it is to walk all the way there. But
yeah. All right.
Find out next
See
time.
you guys next time.
Yeah.
Jinx.
No.